Welcome to Celtic Medicine Stories, a podcast where we explore stories from the old Celtic lands, with the understanding that they carry medicine for us. I'm your host, Kat Horton, and I offer these stories in the spirit of the oral storytelling tradition of the British Isles. That is, they are free and they're open to everyone, always. Although these stories often have come from another time and have evolved through time with the oral storytelling tradition, they are here still for a reason. If you're curious about going deeper with this story, with the images, symbols, characters, landscapes, sounds, whatever it is that's speaking to you from this particular story, then there are some free resources below which will help guide you in that process. You likely know him as Merlin, which is an anglicized version of his Brythonic name, well, one of his names, Myrddin, and the story will reveal to you the meaning of that name. Merlin has become a legend. Many fantastical tales have been woven about him, and he continues to show up in various guises in our popular culture. Think of Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings. He's captured our imaginations as the archetypal Druid or wizard. When we trace the history of his story, we find at the beginning the fragments of a historical figure, a man who existed on the edges. He lived in the middle of the 6th century, a time after the Romans had withdrawn from Britain and the still powerful kingdoms of the north were fighting for power while trying to fend off increasing waves of invasions from the Angles. It was also a time when the old nature-based spirituality of Britain was teetering on the edge of submission to the new faith, moving up from the desert lands in southern Europe. Merlin's story is based in southwest Scotland. It was only later, as layers of legend began to wrap around him, that he was translocated to other parts of Britain. This telling is based on the bones of a few historical scraps we have left and doesn't include many of the later editions you're likely more familiar with. This first part is an insight into how life might have been when the Brythonic tribes native to southern Scotland still had the freedom to follow their old ways before the oppression by the Angles. I hope you enjoy it. So as you listen to this story, as with all these Celtic medicine stories, let yourself float. You don't need to pay attention in the way maybe you were asked to do in school. You don't need to try and follow the plot line or the dialogue or anything in particular. In fact, the medicine lies in what you find yourself attending to. So when you let yourself go into that receptive, floaty state and you find your mind wanting to savor an image or a sound or a word, and you find yourself more engaged with that than whatever it is that I'm saying, then notice that. You don't need to analyze it or try and figure it out in that moment, but just notice it, that called your attention, because that's where the medicine lies. Wherever this story interacts with your story is what you're looking for. And I believe this is part of why these stories have been around for so long, is because they each interact with us in some special way. And so as you listen, just let yourself absorb it and notice which parts stick out to you. So come with me, if you will. Come with me back over the ocean, back through the centuries, to a beautiful land of rugged hills, hunkered down between the crashing North Sea and the ancient Caledonian forest. Come with me to this land of the Selagove. The hunters is what they call themselves. A people and a land so wild and so fierce that it was untamed by the iron fist of Rome. Come with me to this place where the land and the sea and the sky are in constant conversation, a conversation where the words are water. And as you float across this land, you'll see a glassy lake, clear crystal water. And at nighttime, you'll see that the stars are reflected in this lake. And it's named for the greatest hunter of all. They call it Loch Mabon. Loch Mabon. And in the surface of the lake, they watch, the wisdom keepers watch the stars. They can observe them much more easily in the lake. And they watch the patterns unfold, and they watch the patterns of the people and the patterns of the land, and they drink the wisdom from this deep well, of the cosmos. And nestled right on the edge of the loch is a stone temple. It's a dream temple. It's made of stone stacked together and held together by the earth, the soil that's come from the earth in which it's built. And it has a conical roof made out of reeds collected from the river. And out of the top, you'll see a spiral of smoke winding its way up to the sky. And if you were to enter into this dream temple, you push open the door. It creaks as if to say, it whispers, welcome, weary wayfarer, welcome. And people travel from across the land. It's well renowned, this temple. People come here for healing. They come here for guidance. So as you push open the door and you step into the temple, looking for letting go, looking for resolution, you see right at the heart of the temple, there is a fire. This fire burns all day and all night. It is low, but it's strong and it's bright. And there's a young lad scurrying around with sticks and logs, and he has a broom that he's made himself. And he uses that to sweep the ashes around the circle of the fire to create a little ring of ashes that builds up over time. And around that ring of ashes sits a ring of people, a circle of people who have come from all over. And in the north part of that circle sits a very old man. People sometimes wonder if he's still with us. He sits that still. His face is wrinkly and his beard comes down to his knees. He's got a twinkle in his eye, the twinkle of those who know. It reflects the fire as he gazes in. And over on the west side, there's a big, long wooden table, and an old woman stands there. And the plait of her hair is almost as long as his beard. It waves down at the back of her waist. And she's busy. She's moving things around. She's got plants and roots and things, and she's pouring things. She's got boxes. She's got grinding things up. She's busy making something. And over in the south, that's where the musicians are. Someone with a drum and a harp. People playing music, a flute. And as you walk on in and you enter the circle and you sit down, you'll see there's others moving around, directed by the old man and the old woman. And one of them, the old woman, she calls him over. She says, Lilokan. Lilokan, that's what they call him. Say his name, Lilokan. Let it roll off your tongue. She calls him over, Lilokan. Now, that's not his real name. That's not the name his mother gave him. It's a title, and it means chief of the bards. Because not only does he work here in this dream temple, but he is also the court bard of King Gwenthelau, which means when he's not here, he's there. He's at the fort, Gwenthelau's fort. And usually he's in the feasting hall with the king and all his warriors. Very different scene. He's singing praise songs of the king and the king's father and the king's father's father and the whole lineage all the way back to the ancestor gods. He sings the praise songs. He tells of their heroic deeds and the battles that they have won. And he sings songs of the land, and he sings songs of belonging, and he sings songs to rile the warriors up when it's time for battle, and sings songs to soothe them when it's time for sleep. But this evening he is here in the dream temple. And the old woman's calling him over. Look. So he goes over to her. She hands him a little bundle of things and says, go give it to that one with the broken heart. And sing her the song. Sing her the song for broken hearts. And so he goes over to the circle and he hands the little bundle to this one and he starts to sing. Because a song is a story, and a story is a poem, and a poem is a prayer. And all of these are good, good medicine. The old woman, she can see that he's struggling today, this one, Lilokan. So she calls him over again. Lilokan, come. And she says to him, I see you. You have a heavy heart today. Away with you. Go on up to the forest. You look like you need some forest time. She grabs his face and she gives him a big old kiss on the forehead. Off you go. Oh, and with a nod of relief, he says, thank you. And he heads out of the dream temple. And as he opens the door, he whistles. And he calls his wolf. He's hiding under the gorse bushes, comes running out. This is no ordinary wolf. This is a wolf he's had since he was a wee puppy. And he's trained him up, and they're the best of buddies. And he calls them, and they go out through the little herb garden in front of the temple, open the gate, and up the path they go. And he's happy to be outside now in the cool afternoon air. He's walking on the path through the sheep fields and up. He's going up and up and up the hills and into the forest. And as he heads up the path, he picks up the pace, and the wolf is loping along with him, because he's feeling this heaviness, this deep heaviness in his chest. It feels like a stone of granite pushing on his chest, pushing on his liver, squeezing bile out into his stomach, making him feel nauseous. Some foreboding he feels. But being out in the air is helping. Walking, going on the path is helping. And he starts to pick up the pace now. He's moving across this path thousands of times. He's run up this path. His feet know the way. They know every rock and every nook and cranny as he winds his way further up the hill and deeper and deeper and deeper into the forest. First, blackberries, tangles of thorns, willows and rowan and ash. And as he moves up and up and up, it starts to open up to gnarled old branches of oak and ash and thorn. And he comes, as he has many, many times, to the grove, circle of trees surrounding him, and he stands in the middle. He drops down to his knees and he puts his hands in the earth, feels the soil in his hands, and he says, ancestors, wise ones, I come for your help. I seek your guidance. Help me. It is not death I fear, wise ones. I have done that many times. This I know. I will cycle through life and death again. This I know. It is not even the pain of the possible passage to death at the end of some warrior's sword. The battle fury will take care of that. What I fear, ancestors, is what if they win? What if King Rudrick wins? He has already converted to this new faith that has come from the East. He will bring this to our people, bring this to our land. And as I look down that road, wise ones, I see but three things. I see our separation, our moving away from these groves, our moving away from the waters and the springs and the hilltops. I see the devastation that comes with that, of all of this that is sacred too. And I see the grief, a pervasive grief in our people, a grief that is so old they don't know the root of it. They don't even know what they've forgotten. They don't even know, wise ones, what they have forgotten. This is what I fear. And having spoken those words, he felt some relief of the stone in his chest, and he went over to the old oak tree in the north, and he slumped down against it, putting his back up on the trunk, and let himself open to the wisdom of the forest, as he had many times. He let himself listen to the little birds singing, to the breeze and the leaves, to his wolf off in the distance doing something, ruffling around. He let himself soften back into this oak tree and open. And he let his eyes wander. He saw outside the circle of trees an old oak that fell a few years ago, he remembers, when it was still standing, but it's fallen now for a few years and it's rotten and crumbling, totally dead and full of life. Mushrooms and lichens and mosses and ferns and insects and worms and all the busyness of the forest bringing this old one, this dead one, back to life. And then he hears, as if coming on the wind, the sweet music. And he hears the words, change is constant, this you know well. Renew your life by mourning those who fell. Change is constant, this you know well. Renew your life by mourning those who fell. But he knows in his heart this is the answer to his prayer. He doesn't know what it means or what to do with it yet, but he knows that this is the answer. And so after spending some time there, he whistles up his wolf and they head back down the path to the village. Thank you for listening to this episode of Celtic Medicine Stories. If you want to go deeper, check out my Working with Archetypes free email course. There's a link somewhere in these notes. You'll find it. And feel free to visit on my website, kathoughton.com, kathoughton.com. I'd love to hear from you. Go well.